like a frozen tundra down here. Frost is thick. This area down here is absolutely beautiful. In the state of Kansas, there's not many places you'll ever catch me drinking out of the water, no matter how clear it actually runs. Most places are very, very muddy. The ground around here is mostly farmed, and you've got to be very, very careful about pesticides being washed down into it. There are a few places, like I said, and particularly here, you can see how sandy it is, and the ground around here has a lot of sandstone. So I, in my belief, feel that that filters out a lot of the different things. And there are a few springs here that I will drink from once in a while. But absolutely beautiful day. The sun's just setting. I've got probably 45 minutes left of daylight. You can kind of see how it's shadowing me straight across. And I think I'm going to hike in just a little bit further and then turn around and hike out. Probably going to be dark. I've also found another resource here. This cattail. I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Of course, that's been hit with water, so it's fairly exploded. But still, I'll put it in my tinder kit. One thing I love about this time of year is everything else is pretty much dead. So things like this wild onion that's still staying green is very easily distinguished between everything else for the most part. There are some grasses that are still green, but for some reason the wild onion just sticks out and pops. It's kind of hard to miss, like I said, once you figured out how to identify it. Yeah, smells definitely like onion. And it tastes like onion. Well, we're getting something to eat now, so you can always dig up the bulbs. This isn't a very good digging stick, but this is sand, so. Usually when you're digging up bulbs, you want to kind of have an idea what it's attached to. These are pretty deep. This goes down to remembering where you've seen these things before. So winter harvest, a lot of times you want to go for some bulbs. This is where all the nutrition's packed for that particular plant to survive the onset of winter. So when spring comes, it'll shoot, all that nutrients will come back up. Help the plant survive. But the one thing about wild onion is if you just take the greens off the top, it'll be there next time you want it again. It keeps growing back like grass does. When you cut the grass, it'll keep growing back. Got my hands all dirty now. What in the world was I thinking? Yeah. Yummy. Like a cattle grazing. Well, like I said, I better get back. Always fill in your holes when you're done. You don't want to be the person stepping into that, breaking your ankle off. You know, Lee, you give me a lot of crap about telling you that you could peel these right off of a tree. But right here, is a good example. This would be hard to do, but you can fill these things off. Everybody's got this imagination that a harpsichord needs to be this big and all that good stuff. Well, the truth is, it doesn't. It only needs to be big enough for you to put a divot on. So, just found a few black walnuts. They don't look obviously the greatest, but we're gonna crack them open and see what's inside. Sun's almost set. I'm just sitting here enjoying the view. The lake's not completely frozen over, but this section is. Kind of appears like it's kind of snowing out. And I don't know, honestly, if it's actual snowflakes that are kind of flurrying around, or if it's just some cattail fluff that's kind of floating around in the air. I haven't figured that out yet. Isn't that a gnarly tree? The life story that that tree could tell would probably be amazing. It's got so many extra little growths growing off the side of it, like branches have broke over and over and over throughout the years. Pretty good sized tree too. Just makes you wonder who else has seen that tree. Well, I need to set up for camp. It's definitely getting dark. The sun has already set. I'm actually surprised that the camera's picking this up so well, truthfully. Here's that gnarly tree I was showing you. And this is where I'm going to set up my camp, I think. Right here in that mess. Or at least among it. There are some game trails that run by here. So I do want to be off of them, and to help prevent getting stepped on, for say, in the middle of the night, I am going to be up in this little entanglement, for say, with my bivy bag. That way I'll be out of the way. Went ahead and put on my down cap just to add a little extra warmth. The temperature's dropped quite a bit. I'm gonna say it's in the teens right now, maybe. Probably. So this is where I'm gonna set up at. A lot of thorny things right here. Kinda wish it wasn't. I've been thinking about moving it because of that, but anywhere else is going to be just as thorny, I'm suspecting. Threw my haversack in here. Got my pot. Got some wheat flour. Chaga. And the bivy bag. So that's going to be my shelter for the night. It's looking like it's going to snow. Flurries are still coming down. This is my packable down vest. And it's been probably Oh, how long's it been? Probably 6 hours since I left my truck earlier today, and this still feels very warm. That's a down. That's a plus side to down. Everything else in here is probably going to be fairly warm. Now that is a trick that I learned a long time ago, is even with the wool blanket, if you decide to go out, if you leave everything packed up until right at the last minute to get out on the first night, most times it'll still be warm inside there, especially if it's only been half a day. So if I were to throw that on right now, that'd be nice and warm. Even those wool socks are warm. They are all packed down below the bivy bag. I like hiking in this a lot of times. That's just a buff. Here's my pad with the schnozzle bag to air it up. And underneath that is just the sleeping bag, I think. Nope, that's my down booties. I brought my down booties this time. It's one of those extra things that I purchased a long time ago. It's great for when you're in a hammock and you want to just get out and go pee real fast. You have these on your feet before you go to bed. They'll be nice and toasty, and you don't have to slip on your cold shoes to go take a leak. This is my sleeping gear. This is just my, it's a wool pair of long johns. Tops and bottoms. And then my sleeping wool socks. Along with, that's my sleeping bag. That's all that's left inside there. Well, I'm going to get the mattress aired up, get it inside the bivy bag, and then get my sleeping bag stuck inside there. It's going to be a cold night. One thing with this pad is it's got down inside of it, so they don't recommend blowing into it. Now they say you can, but it's going to add moisture inside of there with the down. So that's why they give you this bag, which is what I store the actual pad in. It does come with another storage bag, but I just don't see the purpose in carrying both. Not when this is going to be in my pack, protected. It's pretty simple. I'm not that great at airing it up, to be honest with you. It has a pretty good sized port, kind of like a release valve almost, for one of those big air mattresses you use when you go visit somebody, or if you're camping in a tent with your family. So you just connect the two ports together. Get some air inside the bag, and then just blow it up. For me, it takes about 4 of these, but it really doesn't take that many if you're really good at getting air inside here. Gosh, it's a beautiful morning out here. You can hear the ice crackling as the sun hits it. It's like a frozen tundra down here. Frost is thick. I absolutely love getting out for reasons like this here alone. How can that not be better than sitting at home watching TV? And trust me, it looks cold, but I am at what I would call a neutral temperature right now. Dressed properly, it can be even more comfortable than sitting in your recliner watching TV. This is definitely more stimulating. Gosh, this place is just gorgeous. Gives me goosebumps just to look at it. Oh man. Oh, it's always ever changing. It's never different here, or never the same here, I mean. The beavers constantly change it. With the bottom being sandy like it is, and when the water raises, and we start to get a little bit of flooding, it washes things around and it just is different. I stare off out through this and think, right now the lottery I think is over $1 billion. That's money that none of us could really even fathom. That's what I would call dumb money. But I don't play the lottery. It's something I think it's honestly foolish and kind of silly. But to be truthful, at this point, I've wasted more money before doing dumber things, I guess. I'm probably going to put a little bit of money in. Who here is not to dream? You couldn't dream something more beautiful than that. Even money man can't make something more beautiful than that. At least not in my opinion. I love how it naturally is that way. Just stunning. Are you guys looking for some yeast for your bread? This stuff right here, this white powdery coat, will work for you. This is something I've learned through different classes, but yet something I haven't implemented and tried myself. So this is on the list of things I'm going to try. Alright, so I'm not sure if this is coming out great, but see how all these vines just kind of climbed up onto this? They don't have tendrils per se, but it likes to wrap around it. Kind of like bindweed does. You can follow that down into the ground. It's very, very thin. You don't want to yank on it. Otherwise, more than likely going to just detach. Now you're going to hear some crunching because I'm on ice and it's probably going to break through, but it's not very deep at all, so I'm not too worried about it. But what you're looking at right there is what is sometimes referred to as a groundnut, Indian potato. Has quite a few different names, and that's what comes off of those vines. Now if you scan across here, there's one right there. They're interconnected to each other. There's some more there, hanging from there, here, on up. If I dare come across here and not fall in. Here we go. Ugh. What I want to show you is over here. Ooh. a lot of it here. All along the stream bank. Oh, just broke that one off. As you can see, they're all interconnected to each other. If you just kept digging, you could find, I don't know, anywhere up to 15 of these connected to each other. Here's another example. Now this was a staple food for the natives. It was one that was shared with the pilgrims, and is probably what actually saved their life once they got over here. That's a good size one right there. But these are just all interconnected, and there's just so many here that you would be hard pressed to starve. Here's my mess I got below me here. Like I said, it ain't very deep. You can see on my boot it isn't hardly even over my ankles, but and all this water is pretty shallow. Walked this little creek many times. I love it because there's catappa trees throughout here, and a lot of times when you're walking down here when it's the season, you can see just the whole creek is littered in catappa worms. Great fishing bait. I'm going to get out of this ice before I fall and lose my camera. I don't know if you can see that ice going underneath the ice. How cool is that? Ice to me has some very fascinating attributes to it, including like this sand here. How it's just separated from the ice channels. Check this out, isn't that just cool? Like little saw teeth. That's how the water level has sunken. And the water's about 4 inches below that ice. And all this is just kind of caved in right there. Take a good look at the vines going up around this tree. I think it's kind of funny, at least for me, because I try to study different plants, and you notice the ones that just stand out and the ones that don't quite just pop and say hello, grab me. You don't quite notice them, and in like this instance right here, I've really found that to be so true. Yesterday when I was hiking around down here, I found that ground nut or hop nest or whatever you want to name it. I mean, it has many names given to it. But I've seen these vines and these trees while walking these creek beds, and I've also seen the ground nuts exposed. And for some reason, and I don't know why, I never gave it any thought until just yesterday, when I seen all those ground nuts spread across all this area. It just didn't, at that point in time, dawn on me that, hey, check this plant out. It might be something worth looking at. The craziest thing is I had two things in my mind what it could have been, and I don't even know why the one was in my mind. It's just, maybe it's because it's kind of eluded me. I haven't spent the time to try to dig it up, but the arrowhead that is around here is pretty abundant, and that was my first thought. That's what instantly popped into my head. But the part that was really bothering me was all of them being connected together like that. That absolutely bugged me. And I had read so many different books that at some point, I don't want to say you get confused, but you have so much in your mind that it just doesn't click sometimes. You need deep exposure. Like today, I'm spending most of my day kind of just looking at it and checking it all over, doing my research on it. And if you just dive in on one plant like that, you tend to kind of remember it more, or it sticks out. Like this is we'd call this a special trip, just because this is the trip that I, wouldn't say discovered, but pretty much discovered the hopness, or the ground nut. It's one of those things that I was so excited about, and I wanted to make sure. The first thing I did is I went home and I Googled ground nut. And of course, if you Google ground nut, you're going to get peanuts too. But it was just one of those things that I remember seeing in a book, so I instantly Googled that. And while I clicked on something, and I went and grabbed my books and started looking up the word ground nut. And of course, then that's when I found tons of different information on it. Just absolutely tons. Then you can YouTube it and find more information on there. I think eattheweeds.com has at least 2 different videos on it, which is amazing. Yeah. I'll grab my books here in a minute when I find a pretty nice spot. Of course, they're all nice, but I'll get it spread out and kind of show you in the books where the information is in those, and so you can kind of see how they cross-relate with each other. See, check this out. This area here was flooded over, and of course it exposed things and washed things around. I mean, I'm not trying to overbeat this horse, but that is just, to me, that is cool. Just laying around. Nature's way of spreading itself, I guess. And I'm sure it provides something for the animals to eat. Well, that was annoying. Alright, Jonathan, I kind of lied. We have rocks. But it's just sandstone. And this stuff just crumbles in your hand. Alright, here we go. I found some more sitting over here. There's a bunch behind here. I figured this is not a bad spot. Kind of noticed that it really likes loose soil and sandy soil, which would be loose soil. Yes, before anybody asks, I am crazy enough to have hiked in all these books. So let's get started. I've absolutely fell in love with this pack to the point where I don't see myself getting another pack. Alright, let's go off first with the Edible Wild Plants book that everybody knows, the Peterson Field Guide. This is a good book, but to be truthful with you, this is more of a quick reference book. If you really want to know something about something, you're going to have to get a more specific book. This has it in here twice, labeled as groundnut. And then of course over here on this side, it's showing the tuber and the actual physical plant. It does it in this page for the edible wild plants section, and also does it on another Found it in Botany in a Day. Where did I find it? Now there's no picture in here. It's just a description right down here. Where is it at? Appius Americanus, so it's groundnut. Put a short description in there on that. Did not find it in Nature's Garden, and that's because I found it in Forager's Harvest. See, this is the key right here to the plants. It's getting a more specialized book in that. Now, it's called Hopness in this book. Now, let's go to the front of it. It has quite a few different pages on it that talks about it. Hopness groundnut. So it has those 2 pages. Here's 2 more. Now in this picture, see, this is what I think is somewhat of a key to it. Is I recognize seeing this before out here, but this gives you a really good idea of what it's supposed to look like. And that is a match. Of course, the book is a smaller image because, well, it's a picture. But that gives you a better general idea of what you're looking at. Now, the other thing that I love about this book is it talks about the habitat, the range, history of it. So it talks about the natives giving this to the pilgrims when they came over, teaching them how to do this. It's it gives a picture back here what it looks like when it's just covering a bunch of brush when it's dead, which I've showed. This shows the main sizes that you can get to. Very extremely large to smaller. This is the preparation. And there are a lot of pages on it alone. So you can kind of get an idea of how many pages is just on this one particular plant. So that, to me, is why it's key to have more than one book. With just this alone, I could have been just fine. Honestly, didn't use any other book but this one off the get-go. It is in this book also, I believe. And this one's alright. Not a bad book for it. It's only 1 page for every plant, or 2 pages I should say, a picture and a description. It is in this book. I can't remember which one it's on. Must be this one. So it's down here, which is crazy because it doesn't really show the fruit. I say the fruit, but the groundnut itself. Appius Americana, and then it talks about it right through here. Oh, and then there's this. I was gifted this book by an individual. Just want to say thank you, Donnie. This thing, it's got so much information in here, it blows your mind. The one thing that you almost need to know is what the plant's name is, in general, what you're looking for. You can look it up in the back. And then you're going to need to know everything else about it. So, where did I find it in here at? Oh, Apius americana, and then it goes on through here. What this book does is it tells you what it's used for. Food, medicine, and also just general uses that they can use it for. And it tells from each different tribe that it was used at. Like there's the Cherokee, the Dakota, Iroquois, Ponca, Pawnee, Omaha, Seminole, all those. It's listed in here, and if I badgered some of those names up, I'm sorry. But that's really good because there's a few plants that I've looked up in here that I didn't know they had an actual use for them other than its edibility. So that's kind of a neat thing to learn, and then that helps you dive into it a little bit deeper and research it even more. It's a very expensive book, and don't necessarily recommend it for everybody, but it's definitely helping me on my journey. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out to you guys is from my research, this ground nut or hopness is edible all year round. Amazing, isn't it? I think it's pretty cool, because not everything is that way. Usually it goes in seasons, and then you're collecting in that format. But very, very neat. From what I've read, it needs to be cooked. You can fry them or boil them and eat it that way, kind of like you would a potato. There are a few places that I've read that says you can eat them raw, but it contains a chemical compound. I can't remember what it was. It's too scientific for me in my brain, and I honestly just can't remember. But it also gives you gas if you eat it raw. I guess it's super, super bad. So if you're that type of person, you like that, I guess that's what you do. But it exudes a white milky sap, kind of like a latex. So you'll want to look for that as well. And yeah, hope that helps you guys. This was kind of a pretty cool find for me. I always get surprised. If I wouldn't have took the time to get out and do this, I would have never found it. It would have not happened. Growing some whisker fangs. That's better. Not really. Holy cow, guys, I about pooped myself. Check this out. It's obviously freezing cold out. There's ice and water. And I've been walking on this sand bank, or sand creek bottom. Check this out. I just walked off this little embankment down here. And boom. Almost went up past. There's only an inch and a half. Almost went past. There's only an inch and a half right there between the top and the bottom. I literally just sank down that far. Freaking absolutely crazy. So I think I'm gonna get out of this creek bottom and start walking on the bank now. I really do not look forward to, nor do I want my boots full of water. So I need to quit being stupid here and get up out of here. That may prove to be a challenge at this point. Oh, gosh. Give me my boot. Give me my boot. The only thing that's going to suck is if I take this next step, it does the same exact thing. I do have my foot on some top ground here that's seen some air, so maybe that'll be solid and act kind of like a snowshoe. Guess we'll see. Gotta get my other foot out. It's proving to be difficult. Okay. So inside bends on the creek are deep sand. This is scary. Spooky. Now I'm really cautious about taking my next step. Every time I step, I sink in a little ways. Much better. Whew. Check this out. Isn't that just awesome? Gosh, it's a beautiful morning. My fingertips are a little cold, so I need to put those in my pocket. But everything else is prime condition. I'll slip and fall on this ice. I need to get out of this creek bed, but the problem with that is that it's, what's the word I want to use? Dense up on the bank. I mean, it's pretty thick up there. And so that's a double-edged sword to walk through as well. It's not too bad if you can find a game trail, which probably is more likely here than not. It's hard to walk 10 feet without finding a deer track. But yeah, I'll get up out of here. See what I mean? I literally walked 5 feet. Boom. That's a game trail. I guess when you know an area, you kind of just know an area. Even though I've never been in the specific spot before. Alright, so check this out. I just came from down there. And of course it's all brushy. Lots of brush. Almost all of that out there is buckbrush mixed in with all kinds of other stuff. Like sand plums and you name it. Sumac. So, if I'm looking at this right here, what do you guys think I'm thinking right now? It's cold outside. The sun is shining. Yep. Yeah guys, I'm gonna take a little nap. There ain't no wind here. Got the cedar around me, the sun's shining directly onto me. It's nice and warm right here. It smells really good. Well, guess it's time to get going. Really hate to though. Yeah, it's about time. That was comfortable. These deer trails are freaking crazy out here. They look like cattle runs to me. You can just see it coming through here. There are so many out here. It's hard to come out here and not see at least one. I'll check that out. Bird's nest. That'd be a great little tinder bundle. Here are some wild rose hips right here. These aren't looking as good as some of these are, but there you go. Yummy. Also a few good looking ones here as well. Absolutely. Alright, so check this out, guys. See the blue, then the red. This is all clay-based soil in this particular area right here. And I've always wanted to try and make a pot or something out of all this. Check out that buffalo. Isn't that freaking cool? There's two of them right there. Check out the elk. They're majestic as well to me. Obviously I can't hold still enough. Not that far out. So cool.